No trains have passed on these tracks for more than 24 hours, and the message is simple: no pay, we stay. There's been attacks online, on social media, and also even on stage at debates, and there was even a lawsuit involved. But that all ends tonight, and this is one of two barns that were destroyed in Saturday's storms. But the worst of it was a trailer about a mile and a half away. Now EDS has already brought in extra pillows and sleeping bags, as you can see right here. And as you've noticed, I'm not wearing a jacket and the lights are on. They brought their own generators too. Yeah, we arrived here just after 11 o'clock, less than 10 minutes ago, and there are already more than a dozen KSP and sheriff's deputies here on scene. Now, his parents say that he's run away from home before. He snuck out of the house. He's a teenager. But this is different. In 2017, more than 70,000 Americans died of a drug overdose. 2/3 of those deaths were opioid involved. Police say that surveillance video could make a difference in their investigation because the video does not lie. When Black Jewel Mining declared bankruptcy in July, mines were closed across the country and hundreds of miners lost their jobs. But when workers in Harlan County heard the coal they mined was loaded onto a train, they took a stand, a 2-month protest that gained global attention. Now the harsh reality. In December 2018, the unemployment rate in Harlan County was just above 6%. In June, the month before the shutdown, 8.8%. In the last numbers released by the Kentucky Center for Statistics, the rate has risen to 13%, the highest in the state. This shutdown affected the entire community.
It's the reason we're here. It's the origin of our existence.
My dad and my brother both were miners.
My dad too. That's what we do here.
In the hills of eastern Kentucky, Harlan County was established 200 years ago.
This is truly one of the most beautiful places in America.
But it was the resource deep in those beautiful mountains that put this place on the map in the early 1900s, King Coal. Towns were built overnight, homes, schools, hospitals were constructed, and thousands of men went to work underground.
Mining is our bloodline here, and it's how our families make a living. It's how they pay their bills. It's how they raise their kids.
As coal companies boomed and busted over the past half-century, some miners have left Harlan County, but many families have stayed. Will Stanton says that he has been through more mine shutdowns than he can count.
7 or 8, yeah. It's on average about once every 2 years anymore. I mean, that's just part of it.
No pay! No pay!
This summer, Stanton and hundreds of other miners were laid off when the Black Jewel mine in Cumberland shut down. They had money taken from their bank accounts, money they had earned.
You know, when this first happened, we just basically lived day to day trying to figure out what's going on.
Once word spread that Black Jewel wanted to move coal that they had mined, protest began on the tracks outside of Cumberland. One that began with a few miners, including Jeffrey Willig, and it quickly grew into a summer-long campout along train tracks.
I think we took a stand. It's definitely put a spotlight on bad coal operators.
A stand that united an already tight-knit community.
I mean, we come together, we're like a sisterhood now. They've always had their brotherhood, but now we have our sisterhood.
With the support of his wife, Will Stanton is now looking for his next underground job.
I mean, it's what we all know around here. It's what we all love. I know a lot of guys down here went to truck and going back to school and all that, but most of us, we're going to go back to mining. It's what we love.
For Paula Smith,
it's scary. It is. You just don't know.
The future seems more uncertain. Her husband is a veteran of the industry and, like Stanton, wants to return.
It's scary, but you have to take chances in life. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You just hope and pray for the best outcome with it.
King Coal was the reason thousands of families moved to the Tri-City area of Cumberland, Benham, and Lynch 100 years ago. The history is being restored. In Lynch, Portal 31 reopened as an underground mine museum, and the local government has worked with ministries.
We're going to see a lot more efforts like this
to restore old buildings, including Lamp House Cafe, that revolve around the mine.
This was the coffee shop in the 1950s. It served as the restaurant for the coal miners.
Just up the road in Benham, an old company store was transformed into Kentucky Coal Museum, dedicated to the heritage and history of an industry that brought hard workers around the world to Harlan County. Workers like Jeffrey Willig, who moved to the mountains from Baltimore 1 decade ago to dig coal.
Believe it or not, coal mining is, it's a good job, and when you're deep in a mountain like that, it's actually peaceful.
However, he now considers his mining career finished. He's going back to school and wants to learn fiber optics.
I'm just tired of, worrying if I'm going to have a job, depending on a president or depending on, if this operator is a good operator. It's sad because I know it has a very deep history here. I admire the history in coal mining. I admired it a lot.
It's a history that goes beyond the mines and beyond the museums, but in the people who built and stayed in this community, one of resilience and strength.
Coming back home and starting to see the destruction on our way in, we just totally went into work mode.
For the next 48 hours, police went door to door, checking on people who stayed home during the storm. Once every house was visited, reality set in. The Port Aransas they knew was gone.
There's no street lights. I couldn't recognize any landmarks, and I just didn't know where I was.
Their building flooded, so the Civic Center is now police headquarters, and for officers who lost their house, it's also home for now.
This is one of the bunking areas that we've been using. Our fire guys have been utilizing this space.
I'm standing in the middle of their makeshift dispatch center. With their 911 system destroyed, if you dial 911, the call actually doesn't come to Port Aransas. It goes to Corpus Christi, and then they relay the message here.
This is home. This is how we've been living. This has become our house.
Volunteers are coming in droves, bringing bottled water and food to the town, and also comfort.
We're here. Use us. Take care of yourself. Take care of your people. You can't repay that. You just can't.
While a daunting task now, the people that make Port Aransas a special place are determined to return.
Today is not the day to come to Port Aransas. Give it a month or so. It'll be back to, we'll be all ready for spring break, which I believe is in 128 days.
But we're going to get through it. That's what we do. That's what this town is. We're going to pull together, and we're going to help each other, and we're going to recover, and we're going to rebuild.
Before Selection Sunday, True Blue fans were hoping for a road to Minneapolis through Columbus and then Louisville. Much easier drives from Lexington. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and the new journey covers a lot more miles and costs a lot more cash. I spent a couple of hours this morning checking on prices for flights out of Lexington, hotels within a mile of the games, and the cheapest tickets. In Jacksonville, a ticket costs $72 for the games tomorrow, then, assuming UK wins, about $130 for Saturday. A room will cost more than $600 for 3 nights, and this morning, airfare was $450, but that price is already rising. If UK makes the Sweet 16 for the 3rd year in a row, a round trip to and from Kansas City is at least $666. A hotel will cost you around $550 for 3 nights. The Sweet 16 games will cost around $170. The Elite 8 matchup is $145. One thing to keep in mind is the bracket. For instance, if Kansas loses before the Jayhawks make it to Kansas City, that may drive ticket prices down. And finally, the Final Four in Minneapolis. A flight costs $700, and a hotel within a mile of the stadium is around $600 a night. Right now, the tickets will run you about $300 on StubHub. Our grand total for all 3 trips, at least $6,200. And that's without additional fees, food, and souvenirs. Keep in mind, these prices do change quickly, even in the 8 hours since I started working on this story. If you want to save a little bit of money, you can make the drive. It's less than 12 hours for each trip. Or you can stay at a further away hotel, Airbnb, or with a friend. It may be an expensive trip, but it certainly would be a memorable one for a True Blue fan. Covering the news in Lexington, Conroy DeLuche, LEX 18 News.